The dress took 4 months of savings. You don't let yourself think about that number as your mother's hands move through your hair, pinning the veil with the same careful precision she applied to everything that mattered. School permission slips, church clothes, the single nice tablecloth she kept folded in plastic. The bridal suite at Ashford Hall smells like hairspray, and someone's tuberose perfume, and the particular warmth of 6 women in a room built for 2. The mirror in front of you is framed by bare bulbs that show everything. You've been looking at yourself in it for 40 minutes, and you still don't fully recognize what you see. Your bridesmaids are a controlled chaos of champagne flutes and phone screens, and that specific high-pitched joy that only exists on wedding mornings. Claire, the coordinator, moves through the room with a laminated timeline and an earpiece, setting down a tray of glasses with the efficiency of someone who has executed 40 of these days and finds each one equally logistical. You wave her off without turning from the mirror. Not that brand, Claire. You know about the allergy? Claire nods, makes a note on her clipboard, and moves on. It lands as a throwaway line. It isn't. On the vanity next to the lip liner you've used twice and the borrowed earrings you're terrified of losing, there's a photograph from childhood. You, small and sun-squinted, one arm raised towards something outside the frame. On your wrist, a red medical alert bracelet. Your mother leans forward to adjust the veil, and her shoulder crosses the mirror, and the bracelet disappears behind her. Neither of you notices. 112 guests. The ceremony starts at noon. Daniel is somewhere on the other side of this building, in a room that smells like wool and cedar, and the specific anxiety of men who are trying to be calm. You know this because you know Daniel the way you know very few things, completely, and with the constant low awareness that you don't deserve it. You've kept one thing from him. You've kept it for 3 years. You've kept it so well that some mornings you almost believe it's gone. You're in the corridor outside the ceremony hall when you see the man. 3rd row, groom's side, male, 50s, wearing a suit that fits too well for someone who wasn't expected to be noticed. His watch is cheap, a detail that doesn't match anything else about him. He isn't looking at the altar, he's looking at the door you're standing behind, with the focused stillness of someone who already knows the outcome of something. Your chest tightens. You've had this feeling before. 3 years ago, the night you sat in a back office and watched a man count cash that was never going to touch a tax return. You told yourself that night was singular. A moment of desperation with a clean exit. You moved money through Priya's small business consulting firm. Twice, not once. Though you've revised the memory so many times that once is what it feels like now. You walked away. You told no one. You chose Daniel in the dress and the 4 months of savings and the version of yourself that had never been in that back office at all. The music starts. You step through the door. The ceremony is everything you planned, and that is both the best and worst thing about it. Daniel cries at the end of your vows, just the left eye, which is the specific way he cries, and the sight of it produces something in you that lives below language. His grandmother's ring slides onto your finger, gold, worn smooth in one spot, carrying 30 years of a marriage you never witnessed but have always wanted to inherit. The officiant says the words, "You approved." You say the words back. In the 3rd row, the man does not applaud. Priya takes your clutch during the certificate signing. This is normal. Priya has had your bag 1,000 times. She is the person you call at midnight and the person who sat on the floor of a hospital corridor with you during your mother's diagnosis, and the person who, 7 years ago, let you cry in her car for 40 minutes without saying a single word. You hand her the clutch without looking. She walks toward the bridal table. She is gone for 4 minutes. When she comes back, her smile is 1 degree too bright. Not false exactly, more like something that's working harder than it should. You notice it the way you notice a car engine running slightly rough. You file it. You don't act on it. This is the habit that will kill you. The reception courtyard at Ashford Hall is strung with Edison lights that turn the early afternoon gold. There's a string quartet near the east wall playing something mid-century that you chose 6 months ago from a list. And now that it's actually happening, it sounds like a different universe decided to briefly visit yours. Your mother is already on the small dance floor, eyes closed, face turned up, wearing an expression you have never seen on her outside of church. The specific look of someone who has stopped bracing. You're working the room when the server hands you the champagne. You almost decline. You've been careful about this specific sulfite compound since you were young enough to need a medical bracelet. But the server is already moving on, and there are 40 conversations happening around you, and you are, for the first time in 3 years, tired of being careful. You take the glass, you hold it, you don't drink it yet. The man finds you near the rose arbor. Up close, he is aggressively unremarkable. Medium height, no identifying features you'd remember in a lineup. The kind of face designed to pass through security footage without catching. He says congratulations. He says your full name with the ease of someone who has said it many times in private. Then he says, "It's a beautiful day. You deserve it." He walks away before you can respond, moving back through the crowd with the smooth indifference of someone who has already completed a task. You stand there with the champagne glass and feel genuinely cold for the first time all day. You find Priya near the coat room and ask her directly. You ask her if anyone touched your bag while she had it. The pause that follows is 1.5 seconds. Anyone who doesn't know Priya wouldn't register it. You have known Priya for 7 years. You register it the way you'd register a step that isn't there in the dark. The sudden absence of something solid. She says no. Her eyes go left. You want to push. The question is right there, fully formed, ready. But she is wearing your colors and she held your hand through the worst year, and Daniel is laughing with his father 30 feet away, and your mother is still on the dance floor, and you have 112 people in a room that has cost you everything to build, and you choose, as you have chosen before, the performance over the instinct. You walk back into the reception. You take a sip of the champagne. It's cold and slightly off in a way you chalk up to the producer, the sulfite sensitivity you've managed your whole life, the particular way anxiety changes your palate. You set the glass down. 30 seconds later, you pick it up again. The toasts are the best 40 minutes of the day. The best man is precisely funny. Your mother speaks for 4 minutes and doesn't cry until the final sentence, which is the sentence about your father, the one she has been building toward for 25 years without knowing it. The room is the warmest it will ever be. Daniel stands. He talks about the version of you he met, guarded, overqualified, wearing your history like a second coat. He talks about watching it come off, slowly, over 4 years, the way ice leaves a river in March, not all at once, but undeniably. He says you are the bravest person he knows. Not because you're fearless, he says, but because you do everything afraid. The room lifts. You drink to the toast. The champagne is colder than before, and the off-taste is more pronounced, and you note it and do nothing with the note. The heat arrives at 3:19. It starts in your sternum, not dramatic, just a warmth you read as emotion, as champagne, as the accumulated weight of the day finding a place to land. Then your throat thickens. You clear it. Once, twice. Your hand goes to your clutch and your fingers find the zipper, and the interior pocket and the interior pocket is flat where it should have a hard rectangular shape. The EpiPen is not there. In the 4 seconds it takes to confirm this, your body has already made its decision without you. Your skin flushes from your collarbone up. Your tongue swells at the edges. Not dramatically, just enough to make the inside of your mouth feel like a room with the furniture rearranged. Your heart climbs with the indifferent efficiency of a system that does not negotiate. You look for Priya. You find her across the room and she is already watching you, and her face is the worst thing you have ever seen on another person. It is not surprise. It is the face of someone watching an outcome they already knew was coming, trying to decide, too late, if they can live with it. She holds your eye for 2 seconds and then looks at the floor. In those 2 seconds, you understand the full architecture of it. Priya didn't just know about the money. In the eyes of whoever sent the man in the third row, Priya was the business, which made Priya the liability, which meant Priya had been sitting across from the same choice you'd been ignoring for 3 years and had simply made a different calculation about what survival looked like. You try to stand. Your legs work, but the room doesn't. You grab the tablecloth, bone white, pressed this morning, and a water glass tips and shatters against the marble floor, and the sound of it is the first moment anyone near you understands that something is wrong. You try to say Daniel's name. What leaves your throat is not a word. Your airway is constricting with the impartial precision of a body that has identified a threat and is responding to it. And the unbearable irony is that the mechanism designed to protect you is the mechanism that is closing. Your body is trying to save your life and it is killing you, and there is nothing in you capable of explaining this distinction to it. Daniel is 40 feet away, He turns at the sound of the glass. Whatever he sees on your face makes him start moving immediately, and 40 feet through a reception, through chairs and guests and a string quartet that hasn't yet registered that it should stop, is a very long distance when measured in seconds. You are on the floor. You don't recall the decision to be there. The ceiling of Ashford Hall is high and ornate, and the Edison lights are still on, and they blur at the edges of your vision into something that looks like a photograph of a photograph, slightly degraded, losing resolution. You hear your mother's voice before you see her. A specific register she reserves for emergencies, the same pitch she used the night the hospital called, a sound that bypasses thought and goes directly to the body. Daniel's hands find your face. He says your name in a voice stripped of every composed layer you have ever loved in him, and underneath it is something raw and young and completely unguarded. You want to tell him. You want the last words to be the true ones. Your throat has closed to the width of a coffee stirrer, and every breath is a negotiation you are 4 exchanges from losing. 30 feet away, a guest reaches into his jacket. He has a young child with a severe allergy. He has been carrying an EpiPen all afternoon. He starts moving toward you. The distance is 30 feet and the crowd is parting, but slowly, the way crowds move when they don't yet understand the scale of what's happening. You understand the scale. Your vision narrows to a tunnel, and at the center of it is Daniel's face, and your mind, with whatever clarity remains, has chosen this as the thing to hold. The floor is cold through 4 layers of organza. This is the most physically specific moment of your life. This cold marble, this particular fabric. You focus on it the way you focused on small, real things your whole life, when the larger ones became too much. Your body keeps working. It does not give up. It heaves and hammers and fights with everything it has. And it is brave in a way you never fully managed to be. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't perform. It just keeps going until the gap between what it needs and what it has becomes a distance nothing can cross. The EpiPen arrives against your thigh. The auto-injector does exactly what it was built to do. It does it 11 seconds after the threshold your body could sustain. 11 seconds. The compound was precise. The dosage was specific to your profile. The window was known by whoever chose it. This was the end of a very long sentence that began in a back office 3 years ago and continued through every morning you woke up and decided today was not the day to tell the truth. You breathe out. The string lights are still on. The flowers have not moved. The wedding cake stands uncut at the far end of the room, white fondant, the small figures on top still facing each other. 112 people are standing in a room that 7 minutes ago was the most hopeful place any of them had been in years. The string quartet is silent. The champagne is still in the glasses. The photographer keeps shooting. It is the only thing she knows how to do, and later the images will exist. The shift in the room, the geometry of grief arriving in formal wear, Daniel on the floor, not moving, while paramedics speak to him from a distance he cannot cross. In the chaos, someone's elbow catches your clutch where it sits at the edge of the table. It falls, it opens, and in the exterior pocket, the small zip pocket on the outside that you never use, that you have never once in 3 years reached for, the EpiPen sits sealed and capped and completely intact. Priya moved it. In the last seconds before the ceremony, something in her pulled back from the full weight of what she'd agreed to. She didn't remove the EpiPen to leave you helpless. She moved it from the pocket where your hand would go to the pocket where your hand never went. A half withdrawal. A conscience arriving too late and not far enough. An act of almost courage that landed in exactly the same place as none. The thing that could have saved your life was in your bag the entire time. 8 inches from where your fingers searched. In a pocket you didn't check because in the worst moment of your life, you reached for what was familiar, and familiar wasn't enough. You built everything on one buried thing. You built the dress and the venue, and the 112 guests and the grandmother's ring worn smooth in one spot, and underneath all of it, in the one place you refused to look, the foundation was cracked. Not broken. Cracked. The difference feels enormous until the moment it doesn't matter anymore. The things we bury don't decompose. They calcify. They learn our schedules. They wait for the room to be at its fullest and the stakes to be at their highest, and then they surface. Not because the universe is cruel, but because silence is not the same as resolution, and the distance between who you are and who you've told everyone you are is not dead space. It is load-bearing. And when it finally gives, it gives completely in front of everyone you love, on the day you were most certain you had finally made it through. If this story made you feel something you weren't expecting, leave it in the comments. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.